Okay, so why don't we get started so everyone can unmute. So we'll start. We weren't sure how many people we're going to have for this call or for this webinar. So we've got a sufficiently low count of people that we can actually keep the audio open so people can ask questions along the way. But I thought it'd be best, since we have such a smallish group, that we can start with a round of intros. So for everyone that's on the phone, what I'll do is call you out because I can see your names. And then you can just give us 30 seconds of who you are, where you are, and why you're sacrificing a precious part of your Sunday morning or evening, depending on where you are, to be on this call. So, so Jeff, I already spoke with you. So Jeff, maybe for everybody else, where you are, or who you are, and why you and Stacy are on the call.
Okay, so it's me, Jeff, my wife Stacy. We're in West Virginia. I currently ride, but I only ride street bikes. My wife doesn't ride, but she used to ride dirt bikes when she was younger. And we're really interested in the in exploring and stuff, and the whole idea of exploring on motorcycles really appeals to us. So that's why we're here.
Awesome, great, thanks. Jim, can you hear me?
Hi, hello.
Hi, Jim. How are you? Good. I guess good afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the accent pretty quick. Yeah, I'm Jim. I'm from the UK. Yeah, I did Sri Lanka to hear what everyone has to say.
Okay. Got a little distortion. So where are you in the UK? Jim? Okay, I think we lost. All right, so Don, I'll go to you. So you, quick, so you already gave your Colorado, but maybe for everyone else that joined a second ago, quick intro.
Yeah, I'm going to actually speak for Dawn.
Okay.
She signed up for me. It's really me, and my name's Dave.
Hi, Dave.
I don't have Facebook, so I made my wife sign up. Although she's interested in riding as well. We had some correspondence with Wendy about she's a new rider. She rides with me, but she got a bike pretty recently. So we're looking at either her as a pillion or by herself, which I'm trying to encourage.
Okay, excellent. Have you ridden in India before?
Have not. Our longest trip so far, longest adventure is about 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
But we're definitely very interested. I've read every single adventure book out there, including I'm starting on yours now.
Okay.
really excited about the prospects.
Awesome. Great. Thanks very much. Thanks for plugging my book. Okay, Michael, how's it going, Michael? Owens.
Good. Hey, Rob. It's Mike here in Toronto. We spoke the other day, and I sold my company last year, and I've been traveling for the last 14 months or so, and this is part of the world that I've never been to, and I'm really keen, as we talked about the other day, on visiting it on hills. So just a little bit more about what that entails.
Okay. Excellent. Good to hear from you again. So then we have Rachel just joined. Rachel? You can unmute that button on the lower left. Just give a quick, hi, I'm Rachel. I am wherever, and why you were here on the call this morning.
Sorry, wasn't bottom left, was top right.
Okay, sorry, your computer's upside down. Hey, hi Rachel, I guess you're in the UK as well.
Yes, I am.
Hello.
I've been a biker mainly off, but on and off for about 20 odd years. I've now just retired, and I want to do sort of more interesting and eclectic stuff. And intro, yeah, I'm looking for the expeditions, but to start off with the more gentle ones rather than the more adventurous side, because managing expectations. Got it.
Okay, good. Then we can cover all those. All right, good. I think that's everybody that's on right now. We might have some people joining a bit, but so let me just kick this off. So we've got this planned for an hour, and I'll keep track of time. So these are the agenda items that we put together. And since, again, with smaller group, we can leave the mics, the audio open. So if you've got questions along the way or anything you want to add, feel free. Okay. So we started with the intros, setting objectives. So anything else you want to add, we'll do a quick session on really just welcome to India, especially for those who've never been. Some practical tips on logistics, flights, visas, insurance, all those kind of good things. Then we'll talk about what it's like to actually ride there, the bikes, what you experience. And I'm sure, like you, if you've actually mentioned to any of your friends that you've been thinking about riding a motorcycle in India, they probably said that you were probably thought you were crazy. Because even people that have traveled there in a taxi feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed. But to be honest, that's the reason that it's so exciting. So we'll help to kind of put some of the maybe biased fears to the side and let you focus on the things that really makes it exciting. All right, and then we'll talk a little bit about our company, what we do. All right, anything else that anyone wants to pop onto that agenda that we might have missed? Okay. So just quick intros from our side. So my name's Rob, also called Roro. I founded the company and I call myself the Maharaja of client experience. So we're all really an experiential travel company. So I don't consider us to be a tour company. So I've been riding internationally, adventure touring probably now for 23, 24 years. I've managed to cross through about 40 countries on four different continents. And I recently left a career actually in management consulting to focus on this because I'm doing something that I love and there's nothing better in life. So Wendy, who is based in Aberdeen, and she's probably the first person that you interacted with when you subscribed to our website, is actually attending a wedding in Glasgow today, so she can't attend. But I'll hand over to Avon and then to Josh, and then we'll keep going from there.
Hi there, this is Avon, and I just wanted to be on this call this morning to talk with everyone to talk about my experience riding in India. I've been riding for many years, a little bit of dirt bike experience, mostly on road, and riding through India is a great way to experience the country and the people, and it's something that you can't recreate any other way. So I encourage everybody to get on a bike wherever you are and get ready for an adventure.
Thanks, Avon. And Josh. Hi, Josh. Hey, Josh, you're on mute, man. Oh, there you are. Hey, Josh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. All right. Hi, guys. Sorry, this is Josh. I'm calling in from India, New Delhi, to be precise. Which is the capital city of India, the largest democracy in the world. And in a couple of days, we're going into election. Thank you so much for joining. This is a webinar for me, the first webinar. So in case I get sidetracked, Rob's going to jump in. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about motorcycles. And two-wheeled expeditions is my kind of dream job where I'm able to share what I believe is one of the best things in the world, which is exploring India and Nepal on two wheels. So if you've already been to India, I want to just say, please visit as an official Indian invitation. Please come again. India is a nation of nations. I think you can see the slide. It says it's a home of 1.3 billion people, but actually it's many nations. And there are 22 official languages, 29 states. But we speak English as our official language, and then all the other states have different languages. So I can't really do justice in the next couple of minutes. But I'm a dad, I'm an artist, and I've been riding motorcycles for now around 20 years, mainly Royal Enfields, and this is what I love to do. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. And I've already moved on to the slide. I should have checked. I'm assuming that everyone can see my screen that I've been sharing from the beginning. Does everyone not see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna move on. If anyone have any questions on India itself? This is less on riding in India, and any questions for Josh as our man in Delhi? Okay, then you'll find out. All right, so getting ready. We've got folks on from the UK, from Europe, folks from Canada and the US. So getting there. I'm sure you probably have already checked, but obviously if you're based in Europe, it's quite simple. All the major gateway airports, Manchester and Heathrow, Gatwick in the UK, and obviously the main ones in Europe, they have nonstop flights to pretty much every major city in Delhi, in India. Flights are 7 to 8 hours. So easy, straightforward. If you want to save a little money, there are also flights via the Middle East, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman. Those are, with a quick stopover and do a little duty-free shopping. Those tend to be in the area of 400 pounds. So good deal. In North America, I think everyone's more easterly based. So in North America, if you're based on the eastern seaboard, easiest way is obviously via Europe. So they go through all of those major gateways. I usually travel through Amsterdam, through Paris, or through Rome. You've got to stop over for a couple of hours and you fly on to Delhi or Mumbai, or whatever your end destination is. If you're like me or like Don or like Dave, and you're based in the western part of the continent, you have the option of going via Asia. And one heads up is pretty much all the flights into and out of Europe arrive between midnight and 2 a.m. and they all leave between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. So it's a little bit gruesome. You kind of get used to it. If you're flying via Asia, the flights tend to arrive in the daytime. So you can fly via, through LAX, Vancouver, or through San Francisco. And you go via Tokyo, through China's main cities, or through Korea. On the visas, everyone's from the UK, US or UK. Visa process for India is very simple now. It's just an e-visa process. I have the URL flashed there, but I can send it to you as well. But it usually takes about 24 hours. You get an email and you're good to go. Nepal is even easier. Nepal has a visa on arrival. Although I found it is easier to actually go and apply for it up front, and then you just skip a line and you just show your email, and then you're done. You pay for it before you get there. But even if you don't, it just counts. You pay I think it's like $30, and you're good to go. So both countries quite simple for Western tourists to travel to. Insurance. This is really just travel insurance. It's good to have whenever you travel overseas, but especially if you're doing something as nutty as riding a motorcycle in India. You never know, you get some scrapes, that's probably the worst thing that we've ever seen. But it's really just good peace of mind. These companies, again, I could send these as well, and I think we have them in our itinerary PDFs, but they tend to run about $60, $70, and then you're taken care of. And if you have, for instance, a need for repatriation, that's included as well. On vaccinations, it's really, sorry, question? So vaccination is a personal thing. WHO, World Health Organization, go to their site. They give recommendations by country. I know the National Health Service in the UK has a site dedicated to immunizations that are recommended, vaccinations for each destination. My personal experience has been, haven't really been necessary, although if you are traveling, particularly in the South, so for instance, doing the Kerala ride, malaria tablets, it's easy and it's risk-free, and it's a good preventative measure. Altitude sickness, if you're living in Colorado, probably not a problem. But bear in mind that we start off in Leh, if you're traveling to Ladakh this summer, at 8,000 feet, and you travel up to a top of 18,000 feet. So it is, it's a very high altitude. So if you're susceptible to altitude sickness, I think you start taking a few days in advance, and you're good. Okay, in Nepal, we don't usually get very high at all. So it's usually no higher than you'd experience in Denver. So maybe 5,000 or 6,000 feet, so 2,500 meters. All right, and finally on gear, more of the fun stuff. So I've traveled with India wearing leather racing jacket, wearing wax cotton, wearing synthetics. They all have their pluses and minuses. Unfortunately, I've gravitated towards the most practical, so I've now purchased kind of an adventure touring jacket from Denezi, but it's good. It's very good. Obviously, it's designed specifically for that. So it's got pockets everywhere. It's weatherproof. It has armor included, so it's really designed to withstand the dirt and the rain and everything else, the mud that kind of travel throws at you. But it's up to each individual. On helmets, closed face helmet is obviously the safest way because it protects front of your face, where 40% of accidents usually where impact is if you do happen to crash. In India, good. You say you're not going very fast, but any accident could be hazardous. I wear open face, up to the individual. Gloves, definitely you want to wear leather, or in the hotter climates, synthetic gloves that have leather on the face. And then boots, it's up to you. I mean, as long as they cover your ankle, you're good. I wouldn't wear sneakers, but obviously whatever you're using for riding now is going to be sufficient. Make sure you've got good ankle coverage. Okay, any questions on any of this getting ready stuff? I mean, if you're even thinking about this trip, there are probably a dozen other things that you're thinking about that maybe we haven't touched on. Is there anything else, any other question anyone has on getting prepared?
Rob, it's Mike here. I just was thinking of the motorcycles. To shift on the left or right?
It's like in the UK, so you ride on the left.
No, that you add shifting the gears with your left foot or your right foot?
Oh, no, it's the same. It's the same as in standard bikes.
Okay.
All right. And I said you ride on the left. You actually ride on the right. So it's the same as in the UK or Commonwealth countries. That's something you get to use very quickly. But yeah, the configuration layout of the bike is the same.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to hand out to Josh on his fancy Himalayan to talk a little bit about the cool stuff about the bikes, and then we'll talk about riding in India, and we'll go from there. So Josh. Hey, Josh, you're muted again. There you are. No, you got to unmute.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Hi, guys. So yeah, the bikes we use, you can see that in the picture. One is the standard bullet, and the one on the right is the recently launched Himalayan, which is a 411cc. The gears are normal. Royal Enfield changed the gear a few years ago, and that's why the sales shot up. In fact, they're the largest selling motorcycle in the world, 350cc and above currently. So both are five-speed gearbox, and they're easy. They're not super bikes. They don't go too fast, and we can't really go too fast in India anyway. But they are sort of part of our Indian motorcycle culture, heritage. They've been around in production, the largest production bike in the world since 1911, I think. But in India since 1955. So it's very much part of the Indian fabric. And it's also a motorcycle that people aspire to buy, and it's known as a thumper, single cylinder. It's a fun, simple, reliable bike, and in the first 2 days, chances are you're gonna fall in love with this bike because it just has this charm about it that which is the reason why it's still around in production and people love it. So I've been riding it for all different various models for the last 20 years, and they are charmers. They're just wonderful bikes. So yeah, that's about it. Any questions, please feel free to ask. But also, if you wanted to know more, you can always check out royalenfield.com, and they would give you a lot of the detail and the specs. So yeah. And I just wanted to say a little bit about, yeah.
No, it's Rob. So anyone else have any other questions about the motorcycles?
Yeah, I have a question about them. I'm 6'5", and I'm just wondering, are they still going to be comfortable for me? Because I'm a pretty tall guy.
Yeah. So honestly, I haven't seen a 6'5" guy, but I've seen a 6'2". And what you do is you kind of sit slightly back on the seat, and they are fun to ride. So they can take the height, the weight. Obviously, not a pillion at the back, but it's quite reliable and it's quite sturdy, and it's not a plastic bike. So for a tall person, it's totally fine, and for a short person as well. So I don't foresee an issue with height.
Yeah, I think the Himalayan. I mean, the Himalayan's a taller bike anyway, but you can adjust the shock. So we can release some of the preload in the shock, and the bike comes up. In this case, probably like another 100 millimeters, maybe 60 millimeters. So yeah, it'll be fine. But usually the question we have is the opposite one: people that are shorter that want to figure out how to get it lower. But the fact is the motorcycles are very configurable. And they're, even if we got in a situation where, someone is very short, so maybe like under 5 feet, there are linkage kits you're able to bring down the ride height even further. So that should be no problem.
Yeah. So for both, right, whether you're too tall or you feel like it's too small a motorcycle, it isn't actually. So yeah, I think that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so any other questions on the bikes? The fun stuff.
All right. Do you want me to go through riding in India and money and stuff like that?
Well, I'll do this one since I wrote this, and obviously Josh has been riding there his whole life. So to me, him riding in India is just like riding. But for a person coming from outside of India, it's a different experience. So maybe you just go to YouTube and maybe find a couple of videos of riding in India, kind of get a sense, because there's a lot going on. But just these, I wrote an article called 10 Principles, but only 8 are relevant here. So I'll run through these quickly. So the first one, and this applies not just to riding, but also applies just to day-to-day activities in India, because India can be a little frustrating, especially at first when you're trying to get things done. It seems things tend to be quite bureaucratic. So get into your Zen space and being patient will help you have a much better time. And that applies to being on the road as well. Road rage doesn't get you very far. It will seem like everyone's trying to kill you, but they really aren't. There's a lot going on. There's cars crossing lanes and no use of blinkers, people riding on your tail, a lot of horning. But it's just the way it works in India. So one of the things that we do is to ensure that you're safe. So when we ride as a tight group. We have a ride captain and a ride supporter, a guide supporter at the back and front. They're on Bluetooth the entire time, talking to each other, making sure that we're navigating the traffic as safely and efficiently as possible. To be honest, and we often call it the world's best video game, because it might seem a little intimidating at first. By the time you're done, you just love it. The concept of horn and be horned. So India is a weird place. It's probably one of the only places in the world that I know that horning is a national pastime. And the way to think about it is it's not that they're angry. They want you to get out of the way, although sometimes that's the case. But it's really just kind of the way that bats fly and signal to each other where they are so they don't smash into each other. They're using sonar. It's the same thing. A horn is basically a way to say, hey, I'm here, so don't run me off the road. So it becomes kind of fun after a while. There's a thing called the law of hundreds. So most people, I've seen a couple people post on our site in our Facebook page that we only cover 800 kilometers in 10 days. And if you're riding in Europe or North America, that's like, well, what are you doing the rest of the time? You don't make a lot of progress in India. First of all, the bikes aren't very fast, but the roads could be challenging. So we have this thing called law of hundreds. So it's really difficult to average more than 100 miles a day, not 100 kilometers, 100 miles a day when you're riding. But also the way that we've structured our tours is we have non-ride days. And the idea is that you're really not there just to ride. Some people do, but you're also there to experience the country. So we ensure that when you're passing through a beautiful city like Jodhpur or Jaisalmer, you have a day off to go and explore and to get to know the place. So that's kind of part of our philosophy. The next one, point 5, is never get comfortable. So I've ridden Western bikes, my own GS there a lot, and also rented some Triumph Tigers. And sometimes you get a stretch of the road, you kick back, stretch of open road. Before you know it, you're going like 100 kilometers per hour. And then, a camel runs in front of you, or, a bicycle or a rickshaw. So the rule there is just always remind yourself where you are, and you'll be fine, because you can never fully anticipate everything that's going to happen in India. That's what makes it fun. The Enfield, Josh just talked about, it's a super robust bike. There's the story that Avon, my wife, was on the phone. She and I were riding in Rajasthan. My bike crapped out. The rear sprockets had no teeth left, and we were in the middle of nowhere. We met some people, and we asked for some help, and they pointed to a garbage dump. And we went to the garbage dump, and we found a bunch of old fan belts and tied them together and made a rope, and even towed me to the next village. And in that village of maybe 60 people, we found a guy who fixed Enfields. And for $7 in 15 minutes, he kicked the bike apart, put it back together, and I was on the road. So they're really made for the country, and they're incredibly robust. Beware the night. That applies where you ride everywhere. The risk of crashing is much higher at night. And then, you find yourself laughing inside your helmet a lot, because you see things that you've never seen before, you never expected to see. So it's part of the package. Just go there and have a really good time, like we do. That's why we love it so much. All right. Any questions on what it's like to ride in India? Obviously, this just scrapes the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, but you'll find out for yourself. Okay. No questions? All right. So I'm going to move on and hand over back to Josh to talk about more practical items on how to navigate around on money and communication, health and safety. Josh, are you muted again? Yeah, you're muted.
Can I ask one question? It's Ashley from Alberta, Canada.
Hi, Ashley. Yes.
So is Delhi, is it like Kathmandu, like same kind of craziness?
Delhi is much crazier than Kathmandu.
It's
funny because I last went to Kathmandu, it seemed quite tranquil. One thing is you notice is that people don't horn in Kathmandu, and people,
I suppose not as much, maybe.
Yeah, and people really tend to obey the traffic rules. So maybe it's all relative, but yeah, Delhi's pretty insane. That's what makes it such a fun place.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Josh, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah. I live in Delhi, so for me, it's a very calm city. It's amazing. But it just it depends on where you're coming from. But in regards to money, you can bring in US dollars and change it at the airport or whatever, pounds. Plenty of ATMs everywhere, Delhi, Kathmandu, or in Kochi in southern Kerala. So, and most small towns have. So you have access to drawing your money, but obviously you have to pay a small little fee for it. Credit cards are accepted everywhere. All you have to do is watch out that they don't charge you for in dollars, but actually in the local rupees, Indian rupees or Nepali rupees. But in small villages and tea shops and truck shops, and if you want to buy something there, you will need cash. So that's the only thing. But in case you don't have cash, we can always lend you some. But there's SIM cards for communication. What we tell people is just download WhatsApp. That's the easiest and the best way in India and Nepal. But you can also get SIM cards at the airport. Roaming is available. And health-wise, there's something called Delhi Belly. Unfortunately, probably because it rhymes with Delhi, that Delhi got the name. But you can get Delhi Belly anywhere, not just in Delhi. And that's if you are careless. And what we recommend is just you drink water out of bottled water. That's the main reason why people get sick, that they drop their guard. But otherwise, we eat local when we are on the road, and of course eat at the best hotels and restaurants that are in the area where we're riding through. So that's it. In regards to safety, where all the two captains are certified first aid. We've got a chase car at the back in case of any emergencies. So that's about it. And if you have any personal medication that you're already taking, you just have to let us know prior to the tour starting. And if you need any medicines, it's pretty easy to get it off the counter here, whether it's Dimox for altitude sickness or anything else. So, yeah, any questions, please feel free to ask. Rob, I think I've kind of covered it.
Okay.
And India for women, I think someone else was going to share that. But I think it's pretty, but yeah, Avin.
Yeah, I don't know if Avin, we have any questions, and you're just maybe just your perspective.
I wanted to talk about health and safety for women. It's just India's a pretty safe country and people are very welcoming. It's just a common sense, kind of use your common sense, especially if it's late at night or it's dark, stay with the group. Just be aware of your surroundings. India is still a place where it's quite easy to get lost, especially when you're out in rural areas and there might not be good signage. So, I don't think that traveling in India presents any particular challenges other than the usual ones of common sense. I did want to just quickly comment on the riding, especially for people who might be a little shorter or less experienced. The Enfields are really great, are a really great bike. They're not sport bikes. I don't know what everybody's riding these days, but they're not sport bikes, and they're really, really tolerant, especially in traffic or if you're in Kathmandu or Delhi. So if anybody had other, specific questions about riding or handling them in traffic that they wanted to run by me, I'm happy to discuss that offline or email back and forth. So just let me know.
Great. Thanks, Avin. Okay. So then we're getting close to closing up. So I just wanted to focus a little bit about what we do. So this first point, oscillation of experience, sounds a little pompous, but let me just explain the history. And this is really the reason that I started this company. So I think I mentioned earlier that my career for the last 25 years has been in management consulting. So I'd go and work on projects in Philippines, in Malaysia, in Germany, in India, in South Africa, and I'd be there for months or years at a time. And so I always coupled it with riding, and that kind of led me to do a couple of rides around the world. And in India, especially because I've been working a ton in India in the last 10 years, so I'd get there and, I'm working for a big consulting firm, so I'd stay in really nice hotels. And then I rent bikes on the weekends, or I tack on and Avin would come over and go riding for a week. And so there's this experience of you're out on the road in India and it's gritty and it's loud and it's dirty and it's, if it's summertime, you're sweaty as hell. But then you get to where you're going for the night, which is this beautiful heritage hotel that used to be a palace and has fantastic restaurants and treats you beautifully and has a swimming pool. So this oscillation from the grid, I call it the grid of the road to the being opulence in the hotel, is kind of the philosophy, the main philosophy of this company is about. And for a lot of people, they're like, well, I just like to hardcore it all the time. That's great, but if you like to have this crazy back and forth of extreme experiences, that's what we're about. All of our expeditions are all inclusive. So I've traveled with a number of our competitors just to see what they're about. The things like not including the meals can be a little bit of a pain in the neck. We include everything. So basically from the time you arrive at the airport, you're picked up, you're brought back, hotel, breakfast, lunch, dinner, your bikes, your fuel, and also activities. So for instance, in Nepal, we go to Chitwan National Park, and you can stay anywhere around Chitwan, but there are only 2 lodges, resorts that are actually in the national park, actually permitted to be in the national park. And we stay at those, and they're not cheap. But they also include safaris that go sometimes all day or all night. And it's incredible, the things that you see. So things like that are included. Things like desert glamping. So basically we go to the dunes out in Rajasthan near the border of Pakistan. The team goes and sets up these tents, sets up bonfire, brings mats and brings meal. And we just camp outside on the dunes and just stare at the stars all night. It's absolutely beautiful and mesmerizing. And then also in Jaipur and Jodhpur, we include things like hot air ballooning, et cetera, et cetera. So it's more than just a bike ride. We offer this thing called experience capture. So I'm by history, by training, and photographer. One of our other partners is a photographer, and we have staff photographers in India. So the idea here is that for a lot of people, maybe you're only doing this one time, or even if you can do it every year, the fact is you're experiencing something amazing. And the idea is that we have photographers that are professionally there to go and capture your experience, that you have incredible images to share with your friends or to hang on your wall afterwards. And believe me, when it's happening, maybe it seems like a bother, but after the ride's done, you're like, wow, I'm glad I got these shots. Another thing is something called Fund Your Dreams. So the way that we structure and all the company structures, you pay a big deposits when you book, and then maybe you don't travel for 6 months or a year. For a lot of people, securing their seat seemed like a bit of an obstacle. So we have this thing called Fund Your Dreams. So basically you just pay 200 US, about 160 pounds, and then your seat is blocked, and then you can go around planning your trip. And usually that's a lot of logistical issues with flights and et cetera. So it's good to know that your bike's secure without a massive upfront payment. And then finally, the women's rides. Avon looks after them. So the idea here is that 4 rides, we've got 4 rides on our schedule so far we have female ride captains and that are just female riders. And I think, Josh, didn't you say, I think we actually have a female driver as well? Because what we have as well is for every one of our rides, we have a pickup truck that includes a mechanic and spare parts, and obviously all of our luggage and water and things. So we actually got a driver that's a woman as well, which you don't see very often in India. Any questions on any of those things? Okay, good. All right, so I think we're about done. So this is our Q&A. We have about 10 people on the line. So any other final questions or thoughts? What I do also have here is kind of a snapshot of each one of our rides, if you wanted to have a look at those. But this is really just your time for any other questions that we can answer for you guys while we're here on the line.
I do have a question. It's regarding communications between bikes. My wife and I are planning on having helmets with like Bluetooth communication in them. Is there something that you guys use, like that we would want to try to make sure we could connect to, or anything like that?
Well, I mean, because they're all Bluetooth is an underlying technology, so it doesn't matter which brand. Like we use Senna, but it doesn't matter which brand. I think Cardam is the other one, and they can all connect to each other, so that's not an issue.
So do you recommend us having those then?
It's up to you. I mean, we usually just use them to the two ride guides just communicate with each other, just make sure that if we lose anybody. But we also ride with sometimes the clients themselves have them between each other because sometimes they just want to shoot the shit or they want to listen to music or whatever. So yes, I'd suggest it because it kind of makes the ride a little bit more interesting. Hey, look at that, or hey, I almost fell off the back.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Rob, hi, it's Dave.
Hi, Dave. Dave?
Our gear and the clothes we're bringing, are we carrying that on our bikes, or is that all being packed following us in the chase car?
No, everything goes in the chase car. It just makes it a lot easier. I mean, maybe suggest that people, if they want to keep anything immediately available, say your camera or something like that you have maybe a small backpack. Some people carry like a small saddlebag, like a kind of like those kind of portable ones you just throw over and strap on the back of the bike. But all your luggage and stuff like that goes into the truck.
What's are there laundry facilities along the way?
Yeah, the hotels all have laundry.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we recommend you have like a hydration pack just for water and all your sort of personal details like your passport and your wallet and those kind of things that should be on you. But the rest of your luggage, your clothes, your, toiletries, all of that just goes into the chase car.
Yeah, that's a good point, Josh. Whenever you check into hotels or sometime places like Ladakh, you go across, because it's a lot of military presence in Kashmir. So sometimes you have to cross checkpoints. So it's good to have your passport with you.
So if you don't want to do the fund your dream and you just want to pay it, so you can pay a deposit, correct?
Yeah, so the way that we work it, so if you're booking 60 days or further in advance, that you pay $1,000 deposit, that's refundable up until the 60 days. And then between 60 and 30, you're refundable. If you have to cancel, we'll work with you to reschedule. And if we can fill the seat, even up to the day that we depart, if we fill your seat, then we'll give you all your money back. But usually your structure is that once we get 30 days out, it's usually very difficult to refill that seat or to cancel in any of the hotels or anything like that. But 1,000 is the deposit to make the booking.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And that's U.S. obviously, not Canadian.
Can I ask the differential between, shall we say, your least arduous ride and your most arduous ride? I'm not quite sure how one would rate oneself in terms of either riding or ability to ride for X many days for the distance. Can you articulate the difference between the easiest one and the hardest one?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, thanks for asking. So the easiest ones defined as, first of all, there's no off-roading. Then we can never guarantee that at some point you might have to go on the dirt because the road construction or whatever. But there's no serious, no real off-roading. The other component to the easy rider class, the simplest class, is it's relatively flat. So that's pertains mainly to Rajasthan. So a couple of hills here and there, but quite straightforward. So bottom line is that anyone that's been riding for a year, maybe has 1,000 miles under their belts, could easily handle Rajasthan ride. Nepal is we still I'm sorry, not Nepal. Kerala we still classify as easy rider, although there are some hills, but the roads are fine. Nepal is kind of then in the middle. Nepal's a lot of switchbacks, and there are some off-road segments. So I think we call it Avid Explorer. And then the most complicated difficulty level is Ladakh. So Ladakh is obviously, it's in the Himalayas. We have stretches of maybe 70 kilometers at a time that are off-road. Not to put anybody off, because you're still on a road. It's just that the road isn't paved. So it would be gravel or it'd be hard packed dirt. There are a couple of stretches that we go in the sand, but that's usually for fun more than anything else, because people like to push their limits and try something new. So that's kind of the main designation. Obviously in Ladakh as well, there are lots of mountains. We go up to over 18,000 foot pass. So there are a lot of switchbacks and things like that. So does that answer your question about this?
That's very useful, thank you.
Yeah.
And Rob, we've got those maps, I think, the expedition profile after the slide.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess we can run through this. We got a couple of minutes. So it's Nepal, the season, September to May. So we're doing our last ride next month. And after that, it just gets too hot. The distance is, manageable, 800 miles, 1,000 kilometers, 12 days. And like I said, Avid Explorer. So there are, especially through this area between Pokhara and Tansen, and then from Chitwan up to Daman, a lot of switchbacks. And sometimes, they're not necessarily paved, so it could be gravelly. Ladakh, like I was just talking about, Ladakh's kind of interesting because we use Leh as our base, and we kind of do trips out to Lamayuru and back, then Hundur and then back, and then down to Moriri in the south and back. But like I said, a couple of passes, two of one of the highest motorable passes in the world. It's incredibly fun. But just setting expectations is quite a bit of gravel and dirt along the way. Kerala is just beautiful, lush jungle, everything from beaches to the Western Ghats highlands, tea plantations, and wildlife sanctuaries. So this is classified as Easy Rider, but the only reason that I kind of qualified it is that 2 of the segments here up to Anamalai Wildlife Refuge, it's beautiful, but it's I think it's like 45 switchbacks. So, but it's like riding in Switzerland. The roads are perfect. And then up in Uti as well, there's a lot of switchbacks. But the road surface itself is pretty fantastic. In fact, some of the best I found in India. And then Rajasthan, like I was saying, is Easy Rider. So it's all pavements and it's relatively flat. And it's just, if you've never been to India before, I'd highly recommend it because you're seeing things like that you've never seen before. You see camels, you see Rajasthani people, just incredibly exotic, colorful turbans. And obviously it's one of the oldest parts of India, being on the Silk Route. So incredible forts and palaces along the way. So culturally extremely significant as well. Okay. I think the last slide is, I've had a number of people say, like, what about the hotels? You know, you guys keep saying you stay at great hotels. These are just two as examples. And I'll be honest, I mean, sometimes, especially in Ladakh, there are no hotels because you're actually in the wilderness. So we have tents, but there are actually companies that provide the tents. So they're robust tents. But in places like Kathmandu and in Rajasthan and Mandawa, we regularly do reconnaissance rides and we check out new hotels. And these are the 2 of the gems that we found on our last ride that, to be honest, we didn't want to leave. They're both, the one on the right, Mandawa, is called a Haveli. So it's an ancient, kind of like a manor home that was built by aristocracy. It was only recently converted to a hotel, maybe like 2 years ago. It's just beautiful. And then the Baba Mahal Vilas in Kathmandu, it's a boutique hotel. Again, it belonged to, a long time ago, it was built for an army general. It's got a lot of history, but a lot of architectural beauty. So, we don't skip on this. So people might say, well, you're a little bit more expensive. Yeah, but this whole concept of oscillation of experience, when you're done with a hard day on the road and you're filthy and you get to walk into a palace like that, you're just like, God, it feels so good. And both of them have pools as well. So people want to jump in a pool. It's a nice little added bonus to your holiday.
Rob.
Yeah.
Question about, since you're speaking about the hotel and the clothes we're wearing at these, finer hotels and finer restaurants versus the clothes we're wearing during the gritty part, is there like a dress code that we would have to follow for these hotels?
No, it's funny. First of all, they know us, so they know we're coming on bikes, so they're kind of expecting us to be dirty. But no, I mean, for guys, I usually just put jeans and maybe a black t-shirt, maybe one button-down shirt if you feel like you want to get a little fancy for a night, but nothing more than that. And cool. For women, even your perspective, I mean, for women, it's a lot easier because you can pack a lot into a smaller bag.
Sorry, I had to unmute. It's they're nice, but you don't have to, you pack a few things and you can wear them a few times and you get by. I mean, I wouldn't do any like super fancy dress. And they know that you've been on the road all day. So it's pretty tall. People are pretty patient and it's easy to, and also you can go shopping. Yeah. Get something local is always really fun.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the staff of the hotels love to come outside and take pictures with us. So you kind of like a star when we show up.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we got 5 minutes left. Any other final questions or comments before we wrap up? Okay, well then on behalf of Avon, Josh, and Wendy, thanks everybody for joining. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and if you got any further questions, you can reach out via any one of the communication protocols that are out there. So have a good day, and thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.